You tried to reference the Oratrice. But weren't you as confused as all the rest of us when the Oratrice declared Child to be guilty without any proof?
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are naturally difficult for humans to comprehend. There is no need to provide an explanation.
Lady Farina, I believe a reminder of your current circumstances is in order. While the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. While you are an Archon, you are also first and foremost the defendant in this trial. You will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you continue to withhold vital information against the rules of the court.
I never thought you'd use that kind of... The real Hydro Archon. Well, now you're really losing me. It is true that I did not know why the Oratrice gave out a guilty verdict that day. But the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally, and it has been operating independently ever since it was first created. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that the god behind it must also be no god at all.
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able to produce proof that she has no power over the Oratrice.
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary citizens in the audience. How can I just carelessly demonstrate the formidable power of an Archon?
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the audience.
You don't need to go that far.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even wield the power of Hydro, much less the authority of a god?
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derive their power from the faith of the people, and I've converted the people's faith in justice into Indemnitium! Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone with energy for their daily lives. Have you ever seen a more magnanimous god?
Isn't that a huge stretch?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power? Can a god with no power even still be called a god?
It seems like nobody's buying Farina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone! Please don't stare at me as if I was a liar! I'm still the same Farina you knew, right? The one that you loved! Shouldn't you want to believe in me? Please? You've got to believe me!
If what the prosecutor said is true, she really has committed a grave offense.
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too? And all of our ancestors?
Real Hydro Archon, then who is? If you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find anyone who can back up their claim to be such, then what grounds have you to say that I'm not actually the real deal?
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. How can we refute her now? Seems like she really doesn't want to give up. That doesn't sound right. Paimon doesn't think this clue can be used as compelling evidence.
Miss Siegewin.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Farina was displaying symptoms of hyperventilation and flushed skin. These indicate that she was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater. The extent to which she was affected is the same as other humans when exposed to primordial seawater of a similar concentration.
Thank you, Miss Siegewin. Lady Farina, you may return to the defendant's stand.
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved. Shouldn't that be enough to prove my innocence?
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the seawater around Poisson. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. After all, on the off chance that something entirely unexpected might occur, we don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard for Farina's life, you secured a low-concentration sample and asked the head nurse to serve as an expert witness. It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Farina could have...
I can't believe... you... Listen to me, everyone! Please don't give me such cold and disdainful looks! What happened just now didn't prove a single thing! Think about it! How can you conclusively prove that an Archon can't also be affected by the primordial seawater? Also, if I was really just a human, why would I dare to just put my hand in that kind of water? Please, anyone, just listen to me! I swear, I really am your Archon!
Against her now.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's any way left for Farina to win.
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway me. She's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Farina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Farina is... guilty. We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale to render the final verdict on the charges. According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale, Farina is...
Well, what's wrong? What's the Oratrice's verdict?
No. The Oratrice also displays a guilty verdict.
Isn't that correct then?
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro Archon, guilty, to be punished via the death sentence.
The death sentence?
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the very person we've worshipped as the god of justice? What an unexpected twist.
Farina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice? We just wanted to use the trial to show her the seriousness of things so she'd tell us the truth. How did things escalate this quickly?
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, as well as its recommendations for criminal sentences, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
Yeah! Even Vacher wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the real evil mastermind behind the serial disappearances case.
Indeed. Not only is Farina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Farina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place. But now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro Archon. What does this mean?
Mission?
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigns to me will always be top priority.
Is that the first prophecy slate? Huh. So the knave privately arranged for Fremenade to try and find the missing slate.
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. It took me a long time to get around some dangerous stretches of water. But has the trial already concluded? Then doesn't that mean I've come too late? Oh no. Father will be disappointed in me.
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremenade. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate. Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates, and would like you to come here and confirm their contents. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontainians and the sin of the Hydro Archon were both correct. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the seven, did not possess the authority to create a new form of human life. Not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanids' blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontainians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanids. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into being.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing. Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating us.
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontainian, but it does answer a lot of our questions.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct. A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than Oceanids. They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of trials and justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and justice. You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to determine her fate. Therefore, the meaning of the third slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the court of justice. Yes, it refers to our present situation.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to avoid fulfilling the prophecy, in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold. So now, it seems, we're the ones making sure it comes true.
What should we do?
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner of fate?
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions. About the fourth slate, you probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meripede served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass, yes? However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come. As for the root cause of the catastrophe,
It's way too close! How did that thing just burst into the Opera House? Wait, was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
so we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here. That whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars, weeping all the while. It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea, its next step will...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontainians out of Oceanids...
What's happening with the oratories?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Farina! No, I still need answers.
You...
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face is just too amusing. I couldn't help myself.
You are not Farina. Who are you?
The sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding success. But to answer your question, I am Focalor. You know, the god.
Focalor, why did you deceive us?
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. But I had to fool everyone else too, if I was to stand any chance of deceiving the heavenly principles.
Deceiving the heavenly principles?
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. Fontaine condemned to be flooded. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. That's the former Hydro Archon Egeria, for the uninitiated. She knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass. And as one of the seven, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly principles at one's peril. So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible situation that I found myself in. I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I was almost growing barnacles by the time I finally realized there was only one possible solution to this confounding conundrum. I had to outwit the heavenly principles, allow the prophecy to be fulfilled, ostensibly at least, while saving everyone at the same time. I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her successor. Although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro Archon, and not to mention the original sin of creating a new race of humans, I dare say she left me quite a colossal mess to clean up. But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I chose to be one of her Oceanid familiars.
So you were also once one of the Oceanids, transformed into a human by Egeria's hand?
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. In my eyes, to be human is to be part of the greatest opera ever known. After becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my past self on her first day as a human being. The me you see before you now is that divinity. And the human counterpart I left behind, I named Farina. She could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited, or as meek and vulnerable as she wished. Her
Oh, who permitted you to come onto the stage? Now, I understand your admiration for my august self, but I must ask you to keep to the rules. All right. It is not my intent to reprimand you. There is no need to state your name. Just be off with you. Do not distract me from my performance. Oh, do not jest. Can you not feel it? I am Focalor. The eyes of countless Fontainians are upon me. I I must at all times display the utmost elegance and nobility.
Sooner or later, things will develop just as the prophecy declared. There is no escaping it.
But doesn't that mean everyone will die? I'm a Fontainian just like them. Will I dissolve too?
Oh, don't worry. Magical meetings exist in this world precisely to give people a chance to turn things around. It is the reason why you met me today. I will tell you how to save everyone, but you may have to suffer somewhat.
Oh, so there's still hope after all. Goodness, you frightened me. You spoke so much and with so much certainty. As for the suffering, well, I will admit that the first thing that came to mind was, why do I have to be the one to suffer? But if the prophecy will come true, I'll also die anyway, right? So if I've already met you as my magical meeting in this world, if there were scales, with all the people of Fontaine on one side and my pain on the other, is it not obvious where the scales should tilt?
You truly are the perfect human, my ideal. I suppose this would also be the justice that belongs to you.
Huh?
Don't worry, it's nothing. Listen well. Fontaine has just lost its Hydro Archon. I need you to play a role. That of the new Archon.
Play as a god?
That's right. You must begin a never-ending masquerade. You must never let anyone suspect your identity. If you can keep it up, then I shall have my way of defying this prophecy. But should your identity be revealed, then all hope will be lost.
But how will I do this?
Don't worry. What you must do, being a human yourself, I'm sure you already know what such an entity would be like. Remember, your true challenge will not be pursuing divinity, but contending against humanity.
I'm still not sure I understand, but I'll try. I'll try to do this. So, how long am I going to have to play the—
To accomplish that, but
A trial, huh? How exciting. The Maison Cardinalise has announced my accession, but this is my first time facing the people. What should I say to most appear like a god?
And to be more precise, not only will the Oratrice take down the god of justice, it will also take down the divine throne upon which she has been placed. I mean, did you think I would be the sort to enjoy peaceful repose while Farina suffered? My work over these last 500 years has been to constantly accumulate indemnitium within the Oratrice. But really, Some have already discovered that only a small fraction of the energy generated by the device was ever used to provide power to Fontaine. The vast majority had to be, accumulated to enact this death sentence.
It was all a part of your plan, then? Both the trial and the sentence?
Indeed. This power, accrued over 5 centuries, could have sustained Fontainians for millennia had it only been used for that purpose. But only power of this magnitude could hope to destroy the Hydro Archon's divine throne, shaking the rules established by Celestia and breaking through the institution that is the Seven.
So the Oratrice's call for death was for neither Farina nor Focalor, but for the Hydro Archon. The destruction of that divine throne. If I do not misunderstand your intent, you must be...
Returning what's rightfully yours to you, of course. In other words, this was all done to return the authority of the Hydro Archon to the Hydro Dragon of this planet.
But...
Oh, what? Getting sad again, are we? The authority of the ancient dragons shall soon be yours once more, O Hydro Dragon Sovereign. And this is the face you make.
all you've done throughout the years is just so you can sacrifice yourself at the very end.
I've never quite seen it that way, you know. Even now, I'm quite pleased at how well my deception worked. Hydro Dragon, don't cry. I must say, had it been within my rights, I would have loved to judge the heavenly principles themselves. Were they not guilty of essentially the same crime? Egeria stole the power of the primordial sea, and the heavenly principles stole the power you ancient dragons possessed. I, for my part, am the god of justice. And is it not just that your original powers should be returned to you? Speaking of justice, I have always believed that justice lies in the process of pursuing human existence itself. So, if the theft of the primordial sea's might was Fontaine's original sin, then, leaving matters of procedural right and wrong aside, the descent of the Fontainians as humans and their right to exist in this world would be Fontaine's original justice. In other words, existence was Egeria's justice, and to me, justice is the continuation of that existence. Defying the prophecy and ensuring that Fontaine's people shall live on, that should be the justice enthroned over all others. At this point, we, whether it be myself or all other Fontainians, have shouldered the burden of this sin for far too long. Iudex Nervillet, the highest judge in our land, when you regain your full power as an elemental sovereign, what verdict shall you pass upon us?
So when I was invited to the court of Fontaine to serve as Iudex, I see now that that was your idea too. At last, I now understand the true purpose behind this position. In the beginning, I was uninterested in human existence. But these 5 centuries of living alongside them have gradually brought about mutual understanding between us. And I have even attempted to feel as they feel. You are a devious one, Focalor. Things being as they are, surely you know that I could never declare them to be guilty.
The hour of my execution is almost here. For the sinner, the curtain call has come. I know I may not sound it, but Faced with death, I find myself a little afraid. Perhaps this is one thing both gods and humans have in common. Farewell, Nervalette. I hope you've enjoyed the part you played these 500 years.
I, Iudex Nouvelette, hereby declare, people of Fontaine, your sins are forgiven.
And has the death sentence been carried out?
Was that bright light some sort of misdirection? I have a feeling that something huge just happened.
But since we're all still alive and haven't been dissolved, I assume whatever happened was good for us.
It's time to end this. We must mete out punishment to that beast.
Didn't you say just a moment ago that it can't be defeated?
I have gained the strength sufficient to deal with it. Through certain means, I now have the ability to separate the power of the Primordial Sea from that creature. We should seize the opportunity to pursue our quarry. Traveler, now that the oratories can no longer function, I require an executor to help me mete out justice. The root of the calamities befalling Fontaine, the beast that enacts the prophecy. Its name is the all-devouring Narwhal. Come with me, traveler. The hour of execution has come.
Thanks for helping with the cleanup. It should have been my job, but... oh well. It was just supposed to be a short private training session for me. I didn't think that my disciple and my master's pet would start brawling in the meantime. Well, actually, I had a feeling that it would happen at some point, but they bumped into one another earlier than I thought.
That power. Who are you exactly?
Paimon has an idea. From what she said earlier, she must be Child's master. Skirk, right? It's just that he gave us the impression that she was the less talkative person.
I simply did not have anything to say to the weak. But you, on the other hand, managed to defeat the all-devouring narwhal without using power from beyond this world. So you may speak to me as equals. I have to agree. It's a strange use of a planet's primordial waters just to raise an all-devouring narwhal. That kind of power is wasted.
And only Farina will remain, weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away.
Hey! Help! Over here!
All hands, initiate emergency rescue! Hurry! Hey, lend a hand!
Look! The water's receding!
It's a miracle!
Water's receding.
We didn't dissolve. The prophecy was wrong. The prophecy was wrong.
Are you alright?
We're saved. The prophecy was wrong.
It is the authority of the planet's primordial dragons, but with something very similar to a god's curse mixed in. It's quite a novel blend. I'm sure I've encountered something like this before. What was it again?
I do not know what you speak of.
Ah, of course. How could I forget? You should have the remains of the third descender on your person, yes?
Remains? I've never heard of any such thing.
Huh. According to your parlance, I believe it may be called a gnosis.
Well, that much is true. After Focalor's divinity faded, she handed her gnosis to me. But I fear I have never heard of it described in the manner that you just did.
I've been training with my master, the Foul, ever since I was young, and I have never returned to the surface since. So most of the information I possess, I got from him. It is only natural for those who are greater than humanity to possess a different sort of common sense, which is why there are so many problems in our attempts to communicate with humans. Regardless, you should probably get rid of objects of misfortune to prevent any disasters from befalling you. To live in itself is a blessing, but once a person dies, the bonds he once had with this world shall all turn to curses.
What do you mean by that?
No need to fret. These are just my personal thoughts, and my reason for no longer wishing to return to the surface.
This third descender you refer to, who are they? And when did they die?
Master never mentioned them to me. Perhaps it just wasn't that important for me to know. If you're interested, though, I could ask him. I'll be sure to pass the answer on to you next time.
Next time? You believe we will meet again?
I do. Wait. I have a disciple of my own, don't I? He can be the messenger then.
You here yet? Must he get here? She's not coming! You're wrong. She's here.
Si je pouvais vivre dans l'eau, le monde serait-il plus beau? Me pardonneras-tu, auquel mère? L'eau dans son courant fait danser nos vies, et la cité est nourrie, ainsi que toi, mon doux amour.
But what about your wish?
My wish.
If you become human, you can reveal your secret to no one. You will face suffering and loneliness. Is this truly what you want?